Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and my law firm assists physicians with employment contract issues. Today, I'm going to talk about whether a W-2 or a 1099 is better for a physician. So obviously, this depends upon your specific situation and setting, but sometimes a physician will have the option of whether to be an employee or an independent contractor. So let's kind of break down the advantages and disadvantages of both. So an employee receives a W-2 at the end of the year. So you'll receive some kind of frequency payroll where you'll get paid usually some kind of salary. However, some might be on some kind of productivity compensation and are paid in a different manner. But regardless, taxes will be taken out of any of the compensation that you received. And then at the end of the year, the W-2 just simply summarizes all the compensation you received and then the taxes that have been withheld from it. As far as an independent contractor goes, you get a 1099 at the end of the year, and that just simply says how much the business paid you. No taxes are taken out if you're a 1099 independent contractor. So what are the advantages of being an employee? Well, most of them revolve around security and benefits. So it should be easier to either get into or get out of an independent contractor agreement, meaning the notice period to terminate the contract is usually shorter. Whereas if you're an employee, normally for a physician, it's between 60 to 90 days. Meaning if the employer gets rid of you, they still have to pay you for that notice period if they don't want you to continue on providing patient care. So as an employee, you will get normal benefits that anyone would receive. So health, vision, dental, life, disability, retirement. They're going to pay for your licensing, DEA registration, credentialing, privileging. They're going to pay for your malpractice insurance. Maybe they'll pay for your tail insurance if it's a claims-made policy. Got to look at the language of the contract to determine that. And then, as I said before, retirement as well is something that you won't get as a 1099. So as an employee, you receive a ton of ancillary benefits in addition to the compensation that you receive. Now, as a 1099 independent contractor, you will receive none of those things. So you're going to have to pay for your malpractice and your license and your DEA registration and your credentialing and privileging for the facilities needed to do, perform the duties. It's very likely that whoever you're contracting with is not going to pay for your malpractice insurance, and certainly they're not going to pay for your tail insurance if it's a claims-made policy. Now, there are some tax advantages to being a 1099. I'm not a tax attorney, and I'm not going to get into that in this video, but there are tax advantages. You can deduct almost all of the things that I, kind of stated before that you'll be responsible for. Now, does that put you in front ultimately as far as compensation goes? I'm not sure. You're going to have to do the math. I find that the compensation for an independent contractor generally is equivalent to what you would get paid as an employee. And so if you're getting paid the same, but you're also getting none of the benefits of all of the, all the things that I stated, are you actually coming out ahead even with those kind of deductions as being a 1099 independent contractor? I'm not sure. You're going to have to figure that out. I find that most kind of healthcare employers or businesses that use 1099 employees, many times they're doing that just to get out of having to pay employment tax. I find that anesthesia and dermatology, for whatever reason, are the two specialties that utilize 1099 independent contractors the most. For anesthesia, that makes sense because you're just you can just hop in and hop out, do a case. There's going to be no follow-up. So I think in that scenario, it definitely makes sense to be a 1099. However, if you're in dermatology and you have, a big practice base, you need to think about continuity of care if you were to terminate the agreement. So those are things that have to be taken into account. Another disadvantage of a 1099 is that many of the restrictive covenants for an employment agreement are put into an independent contractor agreement as well. I mean, like the entire point of an independent contractor agreement is it's kind of easy in, easy out. The physician theoretically should have more control over their schedule, when they work, how they work, that type of thing. But in any employment agreement, or at least almost all employment agreements for physicians, there's going to be restrictive covenants. So there's going to be a non-disparagement clause, a non-solicitation agreement, and then a non-compete. I find that most of the people that require the physician to sign an independent contractor agreement put in all of those restrictive covenants in the independent contractor agreement as well. So even if you're acting as an independent contractor for a business, you need to think, all right, well, if I have a non-compete, one, what does it prohibit me from doing? And then what is the geographic radius? And then how long does it last? I get asked a lot, well, are non-competes enforceable against an independent contractor? And the answer is yes, they can be. So you need to be very careful that if you're working for multiple businesses as an independent contractor, contract one doesn't prohibit that while the contract is ongoing. But then two, is the non-compete going to be so onerous that it knocks you out of an area for a period of time where you're really scrambling to figure out what you're going to do? So is one better than another? No, it's just kind of depends upon one, the compensation, two, setting and what specialty you're in, and then three, are you able to procure all of those benefits that you can't get when you're an employee? So once again, as an independent contractor, if you have to get the health, vision, dental, disability, life insurance, malpractice, all of that, how easy is it going to be for you to get that? And then is the cost going to be, I guess, much more than if you were kind of as an employee, especially when it comes to tail insurance? There's a lot of things to think about when determining what works best. Now, the percentage of independent contractors of physicians is relatively low. There aren't a ton of independent contractor physicians out there. Now, if they're doing locums or moonlighting or things like that, that makes sense for those kind of short independent contractor relationships to exist. But physicians who just work as independent contractors, I believe it's in the teens. It's a fairly low amount. Anyway, if you have any questions about your employment agreement or your independent contractor agreement, you can always feel free to call my law firm at the phone number listed below in the description, or you can reach us through our website at chellelaw.com. If you found this video helpful, like and subscribe to get access to more content as we put it out. If you have any questions, let us know, and I appreciate you watching the video. Thanks.